Next then, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lead layering, and that's when it's important, especially when you're building breakdowns and things like that, and sort of big melodies. You know, I either use one really strong lead, which fills out all the range and sounds really sort of like sharp and everything, or if you want to make something sound a lot bigger, I do something called lead layering. And as you can see here in the breakdown, we've got four separate synths going on to make up the lead. Okay, so what I've got is just four basic sounds. So we've taken our melody, which is the general melody I made in the first place. Okay, and if I just solo this sound, we'll play that to you. And then all I did is I like to use the Korg Legacy for sort of thin lead sounds, because what it does is it layers up a couple of the old, vintage Korg synths in there, which were used back in the day for all the big sort of like trance and house records, things like that. And it layers them up and becomes, these new sort of combinations of sounds. And then this one's called Healing Guitar, and it's just a preset that I used. Doesn't really sound much on its own, but then obviously I put the MIDI through it, lifted it up an octave, and that's what it sounded like. Okay, so the other one that we've got going on here, next up, we've got this, which again, it's from the Korg Legacy collection, and it's just called Trance Lead, and it's your typical trance kind of sound. And all I did was put this at a different octave. Now if you listen to this, so you can see if I click between them, they're all at a slightly different octave. There you go, and you've just got one layer overlapping. Okay, so if we play them together, you can hear with them being at different octaves, they don't fight against each other in the frequency spectrum. Obviously if it's lower, it's got lower frequencies in it. If it's a higher octave, it's got higher frequencies in it. So by separating the octaves, you're giving yourself different, placement in the mix. So we'll listen to them together. And another thing I've done with these two is I've just slightly panned them. One's panned to the left and one's panned to the right. And what that does is, again, it gives you another element of space and width, because to the speakers, they're slightly panned to either side, okay? So next up, we've got our layer 3, which again is in a different octave to the other two. There you go, which is in a higher octave is this one. Oh, it's in between. There we go. So if we listen to this one. Now this one has come from Massive. Now you can tell by, if you listen to the other sounds that we've got going on there, this is what I like about using a combination of old plugins and new plugins, is if you listen to the old one that we've got going on here, like the old Trance Lead, sounds quite dull, but you get that classic kind of sound from it. Whereas if you listen to the new one that we've got going on in Massive, you've sort of got that big element of size, and it's really clean and it's crisp. And when you combine the two, you get a nice mixture between like the old school and the new school, and I think it works really well in things like this. So if we ever listen to this. The difference in the quality is that you've got the crispness and you've got that nice sort of rawness. So if I play all them together, this one as well, I've not panned this one. This one comes straight through the middle because it's nice and plinky and high. It sounds quite good, so I've left that there. I'll play them all together and you'll see how they all fit. everywhere in the sort of frequency spectrum and on the key scale. There's a place for it all. So like even before EQing these, they sat well together because they're in the right harmonic zones. Okay. So the fourth one that we've got on there is the final layer. Now this is a sound that I made myself, and all I did was, you know, a little bit like the standard preset sound that comes on there, is I put 3 square saws on there, and all I did was change the octave of them. If we listen to that, real simple sound. And then what I did is I added the dimension expander on there. Now this is a great thing to use inside Massive. And if you listen to the difference, you can tell what it does. It's almost like a reverb, but it's so fast and slapback, it just makes the sound bigger. So this is it without. And then if we stick that on there, then you can mess around with the wet and mix and the size, how much you want on there. But this is the balance that I found, and it sounds like this. There we go, sorry about that. There we go, it's just going crazy. Right, there we go. I'm actually doing this on my laptop, not on the studio computer, so sorry about that, it's just the processor load. Okay, so the other things that I've added onto that sound is the sausage fattener, which is a great tool, which I like to use on here. And it's a really cool thing for just like dirtying things up, and sort of like the more fatness you give it, the angrier the sausage gets, which is quite cool. And it's made by Dada Life, which makes some absolutely mint tracks, and they're one of our favourite producers, so it's great to use this plugin. So if I play it without, so it just adds like a bit of grittiness and a bit of like girth to it, and it's really cool. And what this is a combination of an EQ, a limiter, multiband compressor or something, and it just like glues it all together, and this is what you get, the sausage fattener. Right, so again with this one I've kept it central, and it's on a different octave range again to the other ones. And if you play them all together, all we've done on them is a little bit of EQing just to, you know, bring out the best of each one and take away what we don't need. Nothing too drastic. Just bringing out what we want in there. Again on them all, and just the sausage fattener there on the lead. And this is what we get. So that's lead layering, and you know you can get, again you can go. It depends what kind of sounds you're layering together. You can go further with it. You know, you're gonna have to do a bit more heavy EQing, taking out different frequencies and things. But I think if you find a combination of sounds that work as well as these do, combining, you know, a nice bit of flavour from the old school using like the old Korg plugins, and then like, you know, the new sounds like Massive and things. You know, and again, even programming your own sounds, just nice, simple ones, you can be really effective with it and come up with something really good.